Okay, hey, welcome back everybody. It's been a while since I put a video out. This one we're going to show you how to do some very basic electrical stuff, replacing a receptacle, maybe replacing a switch, and I'm going to give you some very basic electrical terms and tell you what each of these things mean and some very basic things that you need to do electrical work. So here we go, let's get with it. Okay, so today we are going to take a look at some very basic things, some equipment and some switches. I'm going to show you what each of these are. I'm going to give you a little info on all of them. I'm trying to get a good space here. I think that would be better. I think that will be a better view, and I'll try to present things to the camera. So first of all, we're going to talk about some very basic things. First off, this is a switch. This is actually a three-way switch, and I'll get more into that here in a minute. This is a single pole switch. This is a 15 amp receptacle. And the reason I know it's a 15 amp receptacle, it doesn't have the crosshatch here. 20 amp receptacle has a crosshatch right on each one of these. It's a little opening there. So that's how you can tell a 20 amp from a 15 amp receptacle. Now, we're going to, let's get all of those in the view. What I have here is a modern day switch. This is a Wi-Fi enabled switch, and there's a certain way that these get wired, and there's a few things to consider when thinking about installing one of these. These are very handy, but we'll get into that here in a little bit. Alright, so here's I'm going to go over a few tools here. I use this. This is a voltage detector. Now this doesn't tell me the exact amount of voltage that is being detected, but it does tell me that there is a presence of voltage in the area. So it could be anything from 1 volt to 240, but it does tell me that voltage is present. Then that tells me, hey, I better start getting something to determine what's going on here and why I have voltage in that area. Because normally what I'm doing is just trying to determine if there's voltage in order to replace one of these receptacles or switch. And what these things, these detectors can be, they actually detect the voltage. I'll show you here in a minute. Even away from, you don't have to touch it. So very handy there that it does that. This is another cheaper version of that. This one is actually, I think this is actually used for cat wiring, cat 2 or whatever. It has a little flashlight built in on it, and it will detect a little bit of voltage. It detects between 70 and 250 volts. I don't know about that. And then if you find that you have voltage in the box, or if you need to determine what the correct voltage is that you need in the box, then you will actually get a meter out, and you'll put a meter on the box or on the terminals. Now these are some kind of specialized tools for working with electrical boxes. You'll see that they are insulated the full length, and they have this push down little clamp that'll clamp onto the, what that does, it clamps onto the screws, holds the screws inside that opening. When you let back, it clamps onto the screw, and it holds that screw straight until you get it started, and then you let the screw go. It's very good for starting wall plate screws. But see, it comes in various types, Phillips or whatever you call that type of screw head. The crosshatch, the crossed screw head, and standard. It's insulated all the way down to keep you from getting an electrical jolt unexpectedly. And here we have some wire strippers. Now I need these things. Now I've heard some electricians don't like using these things. They don't find a need for them. I have to have them. I must have them. I have to have them. I can't strip a wire. For some reason I have never been able to strip a wire. So it does require me to have these strippers, and the wire simply goes on here, and when you pull it, it cuts the casing, and it clears the wire. Now you can also do that with these, and you can cut with these, and you can twist with these, whatever's needed in the box. These are very handy. This is a very good set. This is a very good piece here. These have been very good. They're good and sharp, and they work really good. And this is just another form of detection. Turns on a. Okay, now a couple things we want to remember here. For one thing, you have a white and a black when you're doing electrical work. Now, normally on a switch you don't have a lead, so you don't have colors, but this is a Wi-Fi switch. Normally you don't have colors on a. So normally on a switch you don't have any wires, any colored leads to deal with. But this is a Wi-Fi switch, so you do. And it's good enough for me to tell you, no matter what, don't ever cross these two. Don't ever cross black with white. It's not supposed to happen. It's gonna be a dead short. So don't ever do that. Generally, green is going to be your ground. Black is going to be your hot or carrier voltage. White is going to be your continuous or your neutral. Any other color, for instance a red, we have a brown here, but any other color would also be, if you had a red, it would be also be carrying, it would be hot. Now this is brown, and brown is going to go to the neutral on these types of switches. So it's going to go back to the neutral load, the neutral line, excuse me. Now I'll get more into these switches later on, but you can install a switch like this in the same box that you use one of these switches, and you can control that with your phone. You can control it by voice. You can control it with an app. You can control it with your computer, and you can have other devices also control it. You can, by having this Wi-Fi switch in there, you can set up routines, timers, days of the month, times on and off. There's a lot of things you can do. For instance, you could have a motion detector and have that motion detector communicating with the switch, and when that motion detector detected motion, you could have it notify the switch to turn on the device. So these are really neat. This is the future. Before long, all houses, all switches will, I believe, will be either Wi-Fi or at least Bluetooth enabled. Now let's go back, let's get to the basics. This is a basic switch. This is a single pole. One way I know it's a single pole, it has 2 gold screws. Now, one thing to always remember, normally gold on your switch or gold on your receptacles, that's going to be your black or your hot lead. Silver, or sometimes other colors, but generally it's silver, it's going to be the white line. It's going to be the white wire. And on a switch, generally you're always breaking the hot, or breaking the hot voltage, breaking the hot line. So you will have a continuous, which is what the white is also called. Continuous, the white wire is also called the continuous sometimes, and then that's because, for instance, in a situation like this, it continues on through the box without breaking, and the hot wire, the black, or in this case it was the red is going to be broken by the switch. That breaks the voltage from going through, and that turns on or turns off the device. That's how a switch works. Now, I know this is a single pole switch because it has on and off labeled on the device. Now, this is a 3-way switch. This can be used at the top and bottom of a stairwell, a set of stairs actually. And what this does, this has a black, a gold, a black and 2 golds. Now, a 3-way switch is not marked because it can be either up or down. It can be mounted either way depending on which side of the steps you're on, the top or the bottom, whether it's one's off, one's on. And the way these work, the black screw is going to be one of the black wires. One of the gold screws is going to be the red coming from the other switch, and the other gold wire is going to be the black wire going to the other switch. Now, the white wire is going to be continuing on. It's the continuous. So the white wire continues on. You have one red wire comes from the other switch. One black wire comes from the other switch. One black wire going out. That's where the power comes in. This goes to the power. This is black from this one's black from the other switch. This one's red from the other switch. We have the ground screw down here. That's the green. That's where you ground this to the metal box that this goes into, or if you're using a plastic setup, This will be this will continue on through your line and will be grounded at the breaker. So that is a three-way switch. Now there's also a four-way switch. We're not going to get into that because I am simply trying to show you the very basics of some of these electrical things and some of the basic ideas, just so you could change a switch out or a receptacle. And again, this is a three-way. This is just a beefier one. This is actually a 20 amp three-way. You can see it's a little beefier product. Now also on these things, you have these eyes. You have these eyes, and these are supposed to rest against the drywall, and these are used. So these eyes are used to they rest against the drywall or the outside, whatever you're screwing this into. This is how you secure it to the wall that you're securing to. This gives you the ability to, if the box is crooked, you can use these screws to move this thing however you want so that the switch or the outlet, the receptacle, is square. So this is a four-way switch, and like I said, this is not a four-way switch, this is a three-way switch, but I just wanted you to know there are such things as a four-way switch. And the four-way switch I'm not going to get into. I'm just trying to show you some of the very basics and some of the very basic terms, just so you could trade out one of these switches or trade out your receptacle. Now I will be doing a voiceover of me changing one of these receptacles. Now I originally recorded and did the recording with my voice as I was doing the recording, but it didn't turn out. So I have the video but no audio, and it may seem like the wrong speed, but I'm going to use it anyway, so I apologize ahead of time for using a voiceover, but I think it'll turn out okay. So keep watching. Another thing I want to remind the viewers of, this channel is for people that need a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of encouragement to do something. These are jobs that anybody can do with a little minor tools and a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of knowledge. Most places the code allows you to change these devices, and I would always say change them with the same things that come out, so that you don't have to get into knowing whether or not you're replacing it with the right thing. Replace it with the same thing that you're taking out. Now you may want to change the color or style, and I'll tell you, as you're doing painting and cleaning up a room, changing these receptacles and switches, sometimes they have old paint smeared all over them, sometimes they're wrong colors, they're dirty. Really freshen up a room if you'll change these out when you do a paint job on a room. You really make them shine if you do that. So there's a few basics, and I'm going to show you me replacing the receptacle. So here we go. And a little something before I get started. I want you to know that I get complaints on my videos sometimes where people say, get to the point. I came on here to learn how to replace a receptacle. Well, I want you to know how to replace it, and I want you to know what the terms mean so that you have the knowledge behind doing it, not just the act of doing it. You'll know why this wire goes there or that wire goes there, or why this is a 20 amp breaker or this is a 20 amp switch. Or that way you know, and if you were to, before you made a mistake, you would know the terms and you would know that you were going to be making a mistake. So I want you to have the knowledge of why you're doing what you're doing, not just how to do this. So those are the people that maybe you need to go watch another video, but my videos are to teach people that don't know how to do this stuff, a little bit of knowledge so that they can do it on their own. So anyway, there we go. Sorry about that. Let's get back to it. Okay, so I told you I would show you how this voltage detector works. You see, you don't have to put the probe into any of the slots. Just getting it in the presence of the voltage, it illuminates, and it actually makes a little buzzing noise. And it has a little LED light to kind of show you where you're going also. And you'll see, I didn't take this plate off, but it detects the voltage even through the plate. So really handy device to have. And remember, after that, then if I find there's voltage in that area, then I'll get a meter out and find out what's going on, where it's coming from. Now, this is a great example of workers coming into your house and doing work. Cable installers, burglar alarm installers, smoke, fire people, whatever it is. If you don't watch what they're doing, they will hack your house up. I had no idea that this was like this, because this transformer box actually gets screwed into this receptacle, and with it in place, you can't tell that they did a halfway job when they did this. They just drilled a hole below the receptacle and ran their wire up through it. Really a jack way of doing this. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not the correct way to do it. Things could have been done better, and it indicates that the rest of the job probably is bad also. And another thing to remember here, remember these receptacles, the ground hole seen at the bottom here of each receptacle opening. There is no right or wrong. They can go up, they can go down. I know most people have the hole at the bottom, and everybody seems to think that's the correct way to do it. There is no right or wrong, and there is no code right or wrong. Anywhere in the United States researched it, and there is no code where the receptacle hole, ground hole, has to be at the bottom. So there is no right up or down on this. You probably never heard that before, but you can do it either way you want to do it. Now, I've heard some people say that it's better to have the receptacle, the ground slot at the top, and that way the weight of the pin will actually help keep the device plugged in. I don't know. I think you could argue that either way, but there is no right or wrong on that. And so you know, I'm not pressing this into the slots. I'm just simply holding it outside the slot just to get a reading. Now let's start taking this receptacle out. Remove the screws. All right, here we go. It's our first look at this setup. Now this is a little bit different than what I showed you. This is utilizing the holes inside the back of the receptacle that can also be used. And this is also the beginning of a line of receptacles on this branch, this circuit. And what they're doing, there's going to be several lines because this is going to continue on to the next receptacle. And what you want to do in this situation, you always want to take a picture, or you always want to draw yourself a little diagram of what this thing looks like, where each wire goes. Now we know that white always goes to the silver, and we know that black always goes to the gold, so that helps us out. Now to release those, release the wires from the back of the receptacle, you have to slide a small, very small screwdriver into the back. When you push that into there's a slot underneath the wire opening. When you push that into the back far enough in, it releases that wire and you can pull it straight out. Now there's a gauge that I'm going to show you here in just a minute. I will show you. There'll be an arrow on the screen that's going to show you where there's a gauge. There's a little gauge on the back of all receptacles. It shows you how long your stripped wire needs to be in order to seat correctly into this receptacle. Now, here it is again on the old receptacle. This is the gauge. This tells you how long the wire needs to be and how far it needs to be stripped back in order to seat correctly inside this receptacle. Remember, it doesn't matter which way you put this receptacle. The ground hole can be up or down. It's a personal preference. Also, I know this looks very confusing compared to what I showed you earlier. The only thing that's going on here is the leads that are coming. Well, let me put it this way: the wires that are coming into the receptacle, they are the ones that are going onto the screws, and the wires coming out of the back of the receptacle in the back inputs, they are continuing on to the next receptacle. And that's all that's going on here. It looks a little confusing. That's all that's going on here. That's the only thing that's different from what I showed you earlier. Now, what I was pointing out here on these receptacles, you see the white Teflon inserts inside the plugs. That's just to keep people from accidentally putting things into the slots and getting a shock. Um, it helps keep kids from getting a jolt. When I was a kid, that's how you learned not to mess around with these things. Was you put something in there and you got a shock, and you from then on you knew not to do that. But now we try to protect the children a little more, maybe. Um, so that's what those are. And a lot of times, the first time you use a new receptacle, it feels like it's not correct because it's really hard to get something into it. But after that first time, it should be much easier. But that's what those little white slots are. Now, I'm pointing out here that I purposely left this receptacle out too far to show you that there's an adjustment. And when I get this cover on here, you'll see that it's not correct. If you left it this way, it just wouldn't look correct. And if all of your receptacles were of different sizes like this, it would look really bad. So I'm going to take this cover back off and make the adjustment, put it back on. You can adjust these left, right, in, or out. Sometimes they can be too far in, sometimes they're too far out. You want to get them flush so that they look correct. So here's what it looks like when it's correct. It looks much better. You'll see that it looks so much better. And then here, all you got to do is clean these things up a little bit. And that's it. That's all there is to replacing a receptacle. Now, replacing a switch is usually much easier. You just got two screws to contend with. Generally, you just have two wires. To contend with when you're changing the switch. Now, if it's a three-way, it's different. And I encourage you, if you're changing a three-way switch, a four-way, get a book. There's some very good books that are available at the big box retailers, and they're going to give you all the basics, very basics of wiring. I'll show you all the basics of wiring and show you how to wire in each instance and in each situation, whether it's to a light, a group of lights, another switch. So there's a lot of different ways that switches and plugs can be wired, and if you're going to be doing that kind of stuff, get a book and learn more. This was just some very basic to get you started, to show you that you can do it. You don't have to call somebody just to change out a receptacle. So I hope this goes a long way towards helping you out. There's no reason for anybody to have to pay somebody to change out a light fixture, a receptacle, or a switch. It's just something that basically anybody can do if you have just a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of encouragement. So I hope this goes a long way for you. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Remember, they may do it another way, but that's the way I do it. We'll see you next time.
Dad.
What you doing, Scarlett?
I like flexing and put on the wall.
Oh, you like the thing I put on the wall?
Yeah,
What'd you call it?
nice style.
I mean, what did you say that was?
It's a nice style.
Oh, okay. It's a nice style?
Yeah.
Okay.
How you build it?
How did I build it?
How you get it?
That's what I'm getting ready to show. I'm getting ready to show these people
How
how I
you
build
get
it.
it? How you get it?
You have to watch the video that I made. I show them out. What do you think about that?
Let me see on the cat.